Hey, it's Michael Rasa here for the Weekly Word with Michael Rasa. I'm sitting here today with Mr. Tony Romo as my guest. If you pay no attention at all to sports or have never followed the Dallas Cowboys, or maybe you've never even followed football on CBS, you may not know who Tony Romo is. Well, let me introduce you to him. Tony is an American football television analyst and former quarterback who played 14 seasons for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Tony played college football for the Eastern Illinois University, where he won the Walter Payton Award in 2002, and he led the Panthers to an Ohio Valley Conference championship in 2001. Tony then was signed as an undrafted free agent with the Dallas Cowboys in 2003, beginning his career as a placeholder. Romo then became the Cowboys' starting quarterback during the 2006 season, serving as the team's primary starter from 2006 to 2015. He guided the Cowboys to 4 postseason appearances and was named to the Pro Bowl 4 times. Romo retired after the 2016 season. Upon retiring, he was quickly hired by CBS Sports, the #1 broadcasting team on television today, to become the lead color analyst, teaming up with Jim Nantz in the broadcast booth. Tony, he went from being undrafted to now holding pretty much all the Dallas Cowboy records in passing. So I feel, Tony, that I speak on behalf of all of Dallas when I say we are truly loving how you have stepped into the broadcasting booth and how you have brought wisdom, excitement, and humor into calling the game. So I want to thank you for getting into broadcasting.
Well, I appreciate it, and I think you're embarrassing me with all those nice superlatives, but it's been fun. It's been a great, enjoyable deal, and when you get to do something you enjoy, as you know, for a living, I think it shows with your work sometimes, and hopefully you do some good things along the way.
Well, thank you so much. And we're going to talk about 4 things here today, guys and gals. We're going to talk with Tony about faith, football, family, and business. Is that okay?
I'm okay with that.
Great. I've got a few questions for you. First of all, on your faith. It's no secret that you have got a strong faith. However, people watching today may not know how you came to know the Lord. Can you share that with us and tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I feel like it's, there's multiple, I want to say times in your life, but, growing up, I think the first realization would be just going to church with my parents, and, we went to a Methodist church when I was young, up in Burlington, Wisconsin, and I think that's the starting, platform for it. Sunday school and just, learning the stories from
Sure.
Noah to anything else, that you go through in the Bible. But I don't think I really knew the Lord at that time. I don't think I'd necessarily asked Him to come in, and really just didn't know the detail that come into my heart and lead my way in life. And, just knowing that Jesus died for your sins, and that's just a different level of knowing the Lord. So I feel like that probably happened really in college, and I can remember just like going to a Bible study class one night, and you don't even know why. There's always a buddy or a girl or something that happens.
I was going to say, it's probably a girl.
Yeah, it was once I got there, and then I was like, oh, I'm staying. But I remember it was a buddy who was he was genuine and nice, and you always liked his attitude and approach and everything, and the way that he treated people and the way his outlook on life. It kind of made me just want to be like, you just want more of that around.
Right.
You kind of want to be like that a little bit, I guess you could say. And I just followed him, and ended up going to a Bible study one night, and it was like eye-opening on what I didn't know, and at the same time, just how much, passion and how much he and really everyone there that consistently did this, every week out there and they had for the Lord, and it just, kind of spurred on in me a little bit of this, wow, what have I been missing out on kind of thing. And in reality, it was just the Holy Spirit grabbing me, and it was time then. And I can remember a few years there, it was just, after that time, I couldn't get enough books to read. I couldn't get enough, I couldn't read the Bible enough. And it was just a very exciting time as far as coming into your faith and just an understanding of something bigger than yourself. And
Right.
It's a very special time, I think, when something like that happens.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So I have another question here. Your spiritual mentors. So your father, Matt Chandler, David Shivers, your best friend Jason Whidden, your wife Candace, your mother and father-in-law Dana and Chris. What advice would you give to our viewers or to others who may struggle and may not feel they don't need God or they don't need coaches and mentors in life? What would you say to them about that?
Well, not needing God is a little, I mean, for me, it's just, it almost feels like there's life, it's not life before and life after. It's just when you come into knowing what God has done for you and what the capability of like what you are without Him. It's never going to fulfill, there's never going to be anything in this life that's going to be fulfilling enough to where you're always going to want more, I guess you could say. It's the Solomon. I try and tell my kids this, but it's almost like, I don't care what you have in life, it's never going to be enough. And I think when you come to that conclusion, I come from a place of living out your dream as a boy, coming up, and I feel, humbled and honored and blessed that I got to, be the quarterback for the Cowboys and play football for a living in the same role I'm doing with Daniels, and then having, kids that you just love dearly and they're healthy and then a beautiful wife. I mean, just things no one deserves all this stuff. And I think there's so many people who are struggling in life and just trying to battle from day to day. I'm like, man, I don't deserve all this, but I was given this. And even then, after all those things, you're still not going to be completely fulfilled if you don't have the Lord at the center of it, because we're built for something bigger. And this life, it just feels like you're going to. I mean, if it was all about football and becoming the quarterback for the Cowboys and that was it and he was it, and it's like, well, then it's over. I did it. What's next? There's nothing next. It's just, there is. It's just, I think you find that when you really dig deep into your soul and you understand,
Totally
what really is important in life.
Totally agree with that. And for some people, they spend their whole life and don't really reach that pinnacle, and then other people.
You're chasing whatever the next thing is that's super cool that makes you feel good.
That's exactly right.
And there's no deep-rooted joy in there. And the deep-rooted joy is the kids and your family. It's like, but it's hard to recognize that. When the Lord's at the center of it, those things become much more. What's real.
That is so absolutely true. And one thing I really appreciate about you, Tony, is that you are a very humble man.
I appreciate it.
You're just like a real dude. You're easy. You're down to earth. So, have you always been humble, or was there like a defining moment? Was there something that happened that just, because I know for myself, I was not.
Yeah.
I was very fresh and arrogant and thought I knew everything, and I got a lot of people upset when I was younger, and so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think I got plenty of friends on both sides of the spectrum, and it doesn't make someone better or worse, as a human being or anything. But I do genuinely feel that there's two reasons for that, and it's a great question. One was just, I got to give my parents credit for any time I was, as a kid, ever coming across humble, I was going to be dropped down a peg pretty quickly by my mom and dad. And so I understood real fast that, you're not that special, no one really is. I mean, and the second part of it was that once you really gain an understanding of real life, it's like, yeah, I have some gifts and stuff like that, but it was given to me from God. Like, it wasn't like I worked hard, but I've seen people, and I feel sometimes like I'm the hardest worker out here. I've done these things, but I've seen guys who I'm like, man, this kid works on my level. I like this, and you root for that guy and everything, and he never even got close to making it. And I'm like, well, then it's not just work ethic.
Right. Why
Well,
me?
what's the difference?
That's exactly right.
And it's literally that God sometimes just sprinkles fairy dust on you, and you have some that He gave that to you. You were born with some gifts, and it's like, how narcissistic to really believe that it was all you and it was all because I'm special at this and blah blah blah. It's just not. It's really, you were given some gifts in certain areas, and you want to utilize those and reach your potential. That's terrible if you don't, go use them. But I feel like it's just really, it's silly to sit there and be cocky about things that you really didn't do a whole lot for. And when I came to that understanding a little bit, that also made me just be more thankful than anything.
So those are the two things: is your parents
my parents when I was young, and that made me humble at an early age. And then when you really like read the Bible and stuff, you start to understand that you're very small in the whole grand scheme of things.
Isn't that the truth?
And I don't care what you do in life; it's just never gonna, So it humbles you, and then from there you just say thank you all the time, and you feel honored that you get some gifts and that you're able to utilize them in life.
Yeah, and it's funny that you touch on how you feel that God has given each of us different gifts, because one of the core values at our organization is growth, and we truly believe that every single person has got some gift, and it's up to us as leaders to kind of draw that out of them that they don't even necessarily know, because not everyone has had the upbringing with wonderful parents like you did.
Yeah, there's no question. I feel like, thing is, it's hard to describe what a gift is. Like, it's easy when it's a talent to throw a football or something that's on TV, but I mean, there's so many things that I look at other people, the generosity of someone, the grace that someone else shows someone who was really mean to them. Like, that's a simple thing, but it's like your ability to forgive someone really fast when they were very mean-spirited or something towards you. I'm like, man, that's a gift, that someone can literally feel that and talk to that person and forgive them, or like even treat them like the same so fast after, something like that. It's just, there's so many small things like that I don't know that people even realize are gifts that are really, truly, just wonderful things they've been given.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So in the past, you have hosted College Golf Fellowship.
Yeah.
I understand that you've invited lots of young golfers here into your home, and I mean lots of them. So tell us how that started, and just talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, we know Brad Payne, who's over at the Village Church, and friends of you guys and Matt Chandler and them, and just getting to know them a little bit. I think it was wonderful. One of the things that just called to us was the ability to just impact some younger kids. And I know how impressionable, I just told you a story about as a college kid and just how that can change your life, and the Holy Spirit calls you. And I think, I remember when I was high school, the Division III football player came back, and I remember just hanging on every word he would say. And so sometimes you forget the platform you've been given.
That's so true.
And I just want to be able to sometimes tell these kids, sometimes there's bigger things out there.
That's right. It's not just all about the
and it's not as
PGA Tour.
And it is to you at that time.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's okay. You can grind and you can work and everything, but you're going to have tough moments. And when you do, if it's just about you, it's going to be a very lonely existence.
So you got 3 great boys now, Hawk, Rivers, and Jones. What's the Lord teaching you about those boys?
Patience. I think they're great kids. It's really, when I get home here around 4:30 each day, it's like, boom, we're playing and we're gonna.
I just saw them run by a few moments ago. That was great.
They have a lot of energy, and they're really they love Dad. And they just want to play, and they're so. The innocence. And also the sinful heart they have already.
Isn't that crazy?
Is shown tremendously at such a young age. They're such a gift to have in this world, and I feel like I want to make every decision that I can to make sure they remember that Dad loves them all the time, and just so they always know that I was here, and 'cause that's all they remember is time.
I know when Debbie and I spend time with our 2 grandboys. It's
that's almost it's like next level gift. I feel like I don't know what grandkids is like, but I feel like it's almost like this great gift at the end that comes. And
it's just not. It's Sawyer and Jude, and they're just like and they call me Cap and they call her Dee Dee, and he called me yesterday, hey Cap. I was like, hey, how are you? I was like, at the pullover, let's talk. And I was like, it's so cool. It is a gift. It's totally a gift. All right, so what do you want to be remembered for? What kind of legacy does Tony Romo want to have?
Well, I think for me it all starts, really it starts with, I want them to know, I don't know who we're even talking about, but just for my legacy, when I look back, I want my kids to know that their dad was a spiritual leader of their family, that he loved the Lord, and that this world it's not going to fulfill you. I don't care how hard you try forever, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and you're going to have dark days, but it's okay. It's like everyone goes through, and I want them to know that Dad, at his core, loves the Lord. He was a sinful, person just like everyone else on planet Earth, and that I love them, and that I was there, and that hopefully they say that I was, gave up a lot of time and I was around him, and that I was fun to be around, and that Dad I want them to just know their dad loved them. And
that's awesome. That's a great legacy to have. All right, 2 more questions on faith. So many people, Tony, believe that they have to have everything together. They have to have, so many unbelievers believe that they have to have their act cleaned up in order to walk into a church, or even, they feel unworthy to even try to talk to God. I mean, what do you say to those folks?
Good luck maintaining that level. I mean, it's not realistic. Biblically, it's not a real thing. I mean, the reason we need God is because we're not going to be able to do it ourselves.
That's exactly right.
You're just not. It's just, you're going to fail. You're going to do dumb things, and you're going to make dumb decisions. Your mind is going to go to bad places. You're going to say the wrong thing. I mean, it's everyone. It's not, there's no person good enough to never make a mistake. And for the people who are waiting, like a lot of times I feel like I got friends who are like, I'm not good enough to go into, like you said, the church or something. And I'm like, you have no idea what the Bible is then.
Yeah, exactly.
At its core, it's for you.
Everybody.
It's literally for you and me and all of us. It's like, what you don't realize is that every single person in there is thinking that same thing. Like you just think that you're better than them because you're worse than them and you don't deserve to. It's so backwards. It's each person. I always say, if everyone's thoughts and every bad thing they've ever done in life was just above their head, and it was like, it was a computer, and it was just spitting out
a cartoon.
And you got to see, like, it's the ESPN bottom line, and all of a sudden it's telling you every bad thing these people were thought or did. Everyone would look around and be, oh, he's bad, oh, she's bad, he's. Wait, we're all bad. We're all kind of sinful people, and then it would be like, oh, we're all welcome here, and that's why we all need God, and that's why Jesus dying on the cross for our sins. It's like it allowed us, to have the ability to not be about ourselves, and that it's been forgiven, and it will be in the future, and it's okay. And that's a really humbling thing that makes you feel good when you know at your core it's okay, and because you're not going to be able to do it yourself.
So let me ask you a little question or two about football, a thing or two you might know about, and this isn't real deep. I just would like to know, what are the biggest lessons you've learned? What are the biggest lessons that football has taught you in 3 specific areas?
Okay.
First, marriage. Second, parenting. And third, leadership. Well, so we'll start with marriage. What has football taught Tony Romo about marriage?
Well, I think the first one that comes to mind is just teamwork. I feel like you're not very successful if you're just centered on your own. I want to be. If it's just about me and my stats or then it's not. This isn't going to go very well. Like, it's such a team sport that if you're not getting help from others, or if you're not communicating with the people around you in football, your team really doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, a quarterback doesn't do it on its own.
No,
it's so CEO doesn't do it on its own.
No, quarterbacks get
a husband can't do it on its own.
No, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'm a much better person because I met my wife. She's made me a much better person. At the same time, she's got to reel me back in every other week. But I feel like the communication aspect, the forgiveness, the ability to just continually come back and know that we're doing this together. I mean, the great joys that you get are because you did it together. When you're in a team sport, I just can't believe that a single sport, after a big win, is near as fulfilling as when you've done it with many people. Something you've done with multiple people and a whole bunch of different personalities, and you had to come together to accomplish something. I mean, that's where the deep-rooted joy is, and it's marriage. I mean, that's long-term. You're sitting there like, we did this. We fought through all these battles. We went through this. These kids are raising, they're growing up, right? And we're going to look at each other, and you're going to be real proud of that because it ain't easy, and it's a great thing when you can sit there and high-five each other and give each other a kiss and hug, and you just know that we were in this battle together.
That's so great to hear. All right, parenting. What has football taught you about parenting?
Well, just the teaching aspect. I feel like as a quarterback, I ended up having to teach, especially as I got older, everybody out there, I felt like at different times. And you want to make sure you're not just whimsical with whatever you tell them. Because the kid, I remembered I'd just say something one week for a team, and he did it, a player did it the next week. I was like, why'd you do it? He says, well, last week you told me. I was like, well, that was versus this coverage. It was, and I was like, I got to be very specific on how I do this because it's,
he's young, parent, he doesn't have the experience, can't read the plays.
As a parent or as the quarterback who's older and has been through it, it's almost like gospel when you tell them something. And now I find my kids being like, well, you said this. Like even if it was something in the golf swing, he's like, that's not what you told me last year. And I'm like, well, that was last year. I was just trying to feel you out and see what you were doing there. But I mean, that's just, as a parent, you just, I do find myself knowing it's really similar in effort and the way that you do things. If you walk correctly, your kids will see the way that I talk to their mom, the way that I treat her, they're going to see that. They feel it. And without me even teaching them,
they learn so much more by seeing than they do by hearing.
So it's like if you walk the walk a little bit, then it makes an impression on your kids. And then the last thing is just, for me, it's time. My kids, they just want time with Dad. They don't even care about what we're doing.
That's exactly right.
They just want you to be there and be around, and that's all they want.
And it's great that you're learning that at a young age. Yeah. Many of us didn't learn that at such a young age. Right. The last thing was football was on leadership. I mean, my goodness, as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
A lot of it goes back to what I said, though, about doing things like where people, you don't realize how many people are watching and just looking at your mannerisms, the way you treated somebody. The way, like I said, about the way I treat their mother. I mean, just, it goes a long way. A leader of an organization, a leader of men, or just the way you communicate and handle yourself. We always talk about during the tough times, but it's just, even when it's going good. The cocky, the humble. I tell my kids all the time, the easiest thing I can teach them sometimes, and it comes up a lot, and I'm always like, I don't want to keep hammering this, but like all the time, my one son will shoot and make a jump shot on his brother, and he'll be like, yeah, in your face, or something like that. And I'm like, is that cocky or humble? And he's like, cocky. And I'm like, yeah, we want to be humble. And so constantly these things are like coming up, and that's just the way they communicate. And then
good.
You get more out of life, and just when you do those things with that kind of attitude.
And
humble, you're a better leader.
That's exactly right.
You're a better leader doing that.
I totally concur with that. I mean, I think
doesn't mean you can't tell the truth. You want to tell.
I totally believe that as well.
And people respect that if you can be direct with them. You just don't need to do it in a demeaning, cocky manner.
I've been reading Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, and she has so many pearls in this book. One of them is, clear is kind.
Oh, there's nothing.
Clear is kind.
The people you respected along the way, and you could answer this better than I could even, but when you look back, it's like, I don't care really who is nicest to me. I really cared who is honest.
Right.
Because when I look at it, I'm like, that helped me more than anything. You don't always want to hear something that was being or being critical. But as a leader, it's like that's your responsibility, is to tell these people in a very clear manner, and you doesn't have to have a strong tone. You can,
Right. It doesn't have to be mean.
No, I've
It
seen
doesn't have to be sarcastic.
No, I've seen Bill Belichick just be like, if I can't get you to, set the edge when they're running outside zone, I'm just going to find somebody else who will. I need the player who's playing the outside linebacker, our Sam position, to set the edge. If he can't set the edge and he's in front of 10 guys, he's like, if he can't set the edge, then we're going to find someone who can. And then after things, he's like, listen, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, Joe, you got to set the edge. If you can't, I'm going to have to find someone who will. I'm giving you another chance this week. Get it done. And it was just as simple as that. There was no mean spirit. It's this is better for us, for everybody. But I need you to do this. This is part of what your job description is. It's probably the number one job description for that specific position on that defense.
Yeah, great example of what football taught you under the umbrella of really all three: marriage, parenting, and leadership.
Oh, yeah. And you can go on and on. I feel like there's 20 things.
That's exactly correct. So when you were playing, did you have any interpersonal goals that you set for yourself? Any, like one or two specific
like
interpersonal
an example
goals? Oh, I don't know. Just in maybe the way you were developing your own.
Ultimately, in my core, nothing even approached improvement and joy from almost a hope or improvement to being this player that you wanted to be one day. I didn't even know what that was. But I feel like at my core, and I've said this before, but winning and losing wasn't, I like to win, we all do. But really, deep down inside, if I was improving and getting better, there's great joy in that, like really deep-rooted joy. And that was what drove me constantly, was the fact that I may have found something new in the throwing motion. Because now tomorrow, wait till you see me tomorrow, now I figured this out, we're never going to lose again, And it almost gave you hope and belief. But that was at my core what drove me constantly. There was never a stat or an award. You wanted to win a Super Bowl. That's right there at the forefront. But there's so much time before you get to that thought.
Right.
That's like once you're established and playing for a whole bunch of other people even. But early on, it's just man, I want to be able to make this throw perfect every day I wake up. I want to be able to throw it 22 yards right on his face mask every day I wake up with a left to right wind, right to left, off my back foot, sliding left. That's what I wanted to do, and that brought me joy each day.
How did any on-field criticism affect your personal emotional?
You mean off-field criticism?
Yeah, on-field criticism.
Like from football?
Yeah, from football. I'm still on football here. On-field criticism, whether it was from coaches or from play or the fans.
No, it affects your emotional psyche when you're young. I think when you're young, it's the first time ever that you're getting hit where you're like, oh, people don't like you. And in a very demonstrative way.
Right.
You've had people say something to you once, but you could feel it from many different angles. When you're the quarterback for an NFL team, it's a real emotional roller coaster if you allow it. And I think when I was young, when you first come on the scene, it was a lot of positives, let's say. And this is why I talk to, sometimes there'll be a young quarterback and people ask me, be like, man, this kid's amazing and great. And I'm like, it's great, but I'm like, I know how this whole ebb and flow of a career goes.
Yeah.
And it's going to go through tough, rocky waters, and it's just the same as life. It just isn't going to be this perfect wave of awesomeness all the way through. And it made me feel like I needed to get stronger mentally when I was really young. And this is within 1 or 2 years of playing. All within that time, it was like, whoa, this life is going to be emotionally draining every day, because every game felt like your life depended on it. And it was almost too much, where it's like I couldn't take losing. I couldn't take not winning, or I couldn't take not being the best. And you got to get beyond yourself, and then you got to understand how to get it to an even keel and not take those things so personal. And when you do that, then it's like, oh, I can change the perception of everyone next week by playing good. I can have a good month, and all of a sudden now I'm really good. And it was like, oh, this is just going to happen back and forth until
It's the ebb and flow of being a quarterback, or really anybody in the football. So who was the hardest to please?
Well, it's always yourself. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing remotely close to that. I mean, I feel like in football you always wanted to please your coach. But I mean, that's coming also from a people-pleasing personality, probably, which I am at my core. I think you always wanted to. I always wanted my coaches to think. I always wanted them to be like, "Man, we're lucky to have Tony." That's what I wanted them to think in their brain. I don't know if they ever did, but that's what I wanted them to think, and that's why you go out and try and do your best a lot of the time. But there's so many facets to wanting to be good. I mean, that was something that I thought about, I guess, from time to time.
All right, last football question, and it has to do with your boys again, Hawk, Rivers, and Jones. Are any of them, obviously Jones is too young, are Hawk and Rivers playing, and what's your hope for them?
In football?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind whatever they want to do. The only thing I won't let them do is play tackle until probably, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade. It would be the earliest probably. But they like it. You know, they're coming on with.
Well, I mean, how can they not? I mean, everything's it's all football. It's got to be.
I'm trying to push golf. I'm like, it's all golf around here. But no, they know Dad's background a little bit. So.
Awesome. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about family, Tony. So let me ask you, being married, it's I think it's one of the greatest joys and blessings that God gives us.
Absolutely.
But as you know, it can be super hard at times. And I feel our viewers would like to know, what do you do to help keep your marriage strong and vibrant and healthy and fun?
Well, I think the easiest thing, it always comes back to communication, but vibrant and fun, I would just say I'm constantly teasing my wife. You know, she'll get annoyed half the time. Probably right now, actually, if she's listening to this. But I think, I mean, we travel, we hang out.
Sure.
I'm always wanting to hang out with her. I think the one thing is you want to let her know, for me, I just want her to know that I love hanging out with her. You know, we got so much stuff going on.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, planning date night and that stuff, it seems so cliche and stuff, but it is a great thing.
Right.
And if you don't plan it, you'll almost never do it.
That's exactly correct.
And then for me, it's like telling her how much I enjoy being around her. And it's like, because otherwise it's always about the kids and what you're doing and how we're doing, what time is this and how we're going. And
another reason to have God in the center, you know, we learn that He wants us to put God and our spouse and then our kids.
Yeah, because if I'm going to be the thing that makes her whole, then that's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
I mean, it's close. Let's be honest here. But no, it's so far from like being able to, and because that's why I see that all the time. Where it could be your kids, same thing though.
Oh yeah.
And if that's going to be, this is everything to me. It's like that's great. It should be the most important thing, but believe me, that will not make you fulfilled.
Yeah. And
because
they will leave.
They will leave your house. And
right.
Then what? It's the same as the football deal. And then what? And then what? And then what?
And it's just right back to faith.
It's all
exactly right. All right, so next question. How do you safeguard your marriage from temptation?
As far as?
Oh, just temptation with the opposite sex. You know?
Well, yeah, I think what you do is you try and just make the right decisions,
right.
More than anything.
Make smart choices.
But you can do that in many different ways. I mean, smart choices is where you go, you know, what times you go at, who you're around, and you know, it's just over time. I feel like you start to kind of understand who you are, what your like strengths and weaknesses are, and you want to make sure that you're always, you know, playing to your strengths and not your weaknesses.
Yeah,
putting yourself in bad positions.
I love hearing that, exactly, because I end my little weekly word thing I'm doing every single week with saying, you know, make smart choices out there this week. And several weeks into it, and when I first started it, someone came up to me and said, you know, I think you should stop saying that. And I said, why? And I said, well, because we have a lot of executives that watch this, and my goodness, they're going to get offended. And I laughed. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, look around. Like, you know how many people make stupid choices and end up in jail or end up in a divorce? And it's like, it's ridiculous. We all have to be reminded to make smart choices.
If everyone knew, like, the thing that's crazy is just the recognition of choices bear responsibility. Like, after that, it's just like you cannot grasp the weight of what this could do to your marriage, to your kids, to your life, to your job. I mean, but I'm not even talking about just, the opposite sex stuff. I'm talking about any decision you make.
Correct.
It's drinking and driving. There's 10. And, there's 1,000 little decisions, but they have ramifications. And I just feel like the hardest thing is to get it into my own brain how important or how much this could affect something, honestly. Because once it happens to you and it's real, and it's right in front of you, and you made a decision, and now it's like, oh, wow, this all happens because of that. You would never have made that decision. It's just hard to grasp it at the moment when you're in the middle of it. So,
And
the weight of it. You want people to feel the weight of it somehow.
How do you balance your marriage with everything you're doing? I mean, from CBS to Chaps to Corona to Google to everything we're seeing you doing. How do you balance it?
Well, I'm trying not to do anything, to be honest with you. Like, the one thing I do is that when I'm home, and I travel for football, and it's a great thing that I'm able to be an analyst, with CBS. And I think when I was younger, I always wanted to go and do. What I've tried to do is change my taste buds to really enjoy home, and I did that. Probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I started to really just be like, I'm going to find out how I can make staying and being calm and being around. Because I was always a go-getter. Yeah, to make it content and to enjoy it.
Right.
Not just to be like, I'm going to work hard and be a good dad and husband and stay here. I actually made it so I was like, we're going to have fun, and I'm going to enjoy this. And how are we going to do that? Well, and then I started and then all of a sudden it was like, I don't even want to leave anymore.
Right.
Now I just kind of want to come home and hang out with the kids and my wife, and maybe some of that's age, but
that could be.
It's been good.
Be. All right. So the second to last question here: in marriage, how do you go about resolving conflict?
Well, the first thing is, I'm pretty sure if I don't apologize, it's never going to happen. So. I would say the biggest thing is usually I'm at fault. That's the problem. My wife is actually close to being as perfect as you can get. She's not, but she's pretty darn close.
I would have to concur with Candace.
Yeah. I feel like, for me, the starting point is it's suppressing your ego and pride and just understanding that.
Yeah. How many times does the Bible talk
people
about
are okay.
pride?
They're going to forgive you. Like, my wife's going to forgive me. She doesn't like it when I do something like, she's like, why would you not put that away after you just used it and it's gone? Why would you put the cereal back when it's empty? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why. I guess it was shorter to just set it there than go put it in the garbage. It did seem kind of silly now that you say it. So. All
right, last question here. What are you and Candace teaching your boys about Jesus?
That's the big discussion every week we go through is just, we know how important it is to our family and everything. But our boys know Jesus. They do. I mean, but I go back to when I was young in the story I told you earlier, which was, I went to Sunday school. I did those things. I just didn't know about Jesus other than just, it was a story. You want to make it real. Like, it's a thing this isn't fake. It's not Superman.
Right. Correct.
Because they're going to know Batman. But, I want them to know that Dad, Batman's fun. Jesus is the reason, that we're all, safe and that we're all going to be okay. And what he did for us, you can't thank him enough. You can't talk to him enough. And I think we constantly talk to our kids about that.
Wow. And we're going to talk a little bit about business. So you have so many business opportunities that come your way, so many different ones. How do you determine which ones to say no to in order to say yes to the best?
Well, I think for me it starts with scheduling. That's the number one thing. I mean, if I'm going to make my family important and make it, you know, in a position where that's, you know, I turn down far more than I take. So it's like, well, how many days, how much time is this going to be stuff that's close nearby? And then from there, you know, you kind of want stuff you like, stuff that you want to be associated with. And then hopefully there's stuff that it's the strengths and weaknesses I go back to. Hopefully I can show off some of my strengths and hide some of my weaknesses. But you know, I'm still learning some of that stuff.
Cool, cool. So how has a person of influence changed you with the stage that you have been, the platform that you've been given? How do you feel that might have, has it changed you any at all?
Well, it definitely, I'd like to think at my core I'm still the same, but I do think that the way you're treated and the way that people communicate and talk with you is definitely evolved. I'm definitely funnier and better looking since I became the quarterback for the Cowboys. Not to say that I wasn't really funny before, but not this funny. And I feel like it just has a way of like seeping in, and you have to watch just that little guy on your shoulder, that little ego thing that just comes in, that you're special and you're just, because that's going to creep in and you have to fight that, because I feel like when you do something in life where you're on TV and stuff, it's just, you know, people, they know you. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I have so many people are so nice and genuine and they're fans of yours that it makes you feel so warm and special inside that people care to tell you like how much they enjoyed watching you and it meant a lot. And I feel like, you know, that's a great reward to be able to have that told to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also feel like you got to make sure and know, it goes back to what I said earlier, which was I didn't really do, I mean, I worked really hard as I possibly could. But at the same time, I don't get to this without God just giving me, you know, if I'm 5'7", I'm not here. I'm not in that position. Right. What did I do to become 6'2" or 3"? It's like nothing, yeah, exactly. Other than just being born, yeah. You know. And so you just want to make sure that you don't ever get to a point where you think it's all about you.
Yeah,
because it never really is.
Such a great message. I'm so thankful to hear you say that. And I mean that sincerely. What is success to you?
Well, like for me in football and business, family life, I mean, it's improvement. I mean, I feel like my joy comes from improvement. I don't care if you're a dad, a husband, it's like it's not too late for anything in business. I mean, it's just like you can start anything right now, today. Every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. And you can improve, you can get better. You just got to like think about it. Find a new way. Try something. Didn't work, okay. Think about it again. Try something else.
So it's getting back. It's the whole thing of getting back up and doing it again, brushing yourself off.
Yeah,
but
and the joy in that, finding the joy and trying to figure the puzzle out.
Yeah.
Like to me, the joy is the puzzle, trying to figure out how to get better. And then once I do, it's like, ooh, yes. Not that was like winning.
So is that what you're doing now in broadcasting,
absolutely,
so to speak?
Broadcasting, golf. You know, as a dad, I'm always trying to find new ways to like make it more fun for the kids, or fun for my wife, or you know, more new fun, cool thing, new games I could come up with. I mean, whatever it is. Like, it's just like, I just think it's fun to kind of come up with that and to think about it. How can I improve as a broadcaster? It's fun to think about it. And then when it actually, like I do something and now there's an improvement in some area, that's like winning. So.
All right, last question here, Tony. At our organization, at Rasa, our core values are integrity, passion, growth, and trust. Integrity, passion, growth, and trust. What are some of your core values?
I think it's very similar to that. I think a big one that I try and live by, that I would put in there for me, would be grace. And the grace for others, just, you know, just knowing how much I've been given, it kind of makes me, humbled toward others, because I just know, I know the way that I've thought, I know the way that I've acted, I know the things that I've done, all these things that I'm always wanting to let people know and tell them just how, you know, how good they are, and that it's not that bad, and they're not that bad, and just the grace toward people when they do something that could be construed as negative. It's really, it's just like, man, you could have been that same person. You've done that before. Nothing's ever that bad. And the grace that I have toward others all stems from the fact that I feel like I've been given that from God and from Jesus. And I feel lucky. I feel blessed and lucky that I got to be in this position and have a family like this. It's just, I keep going back to that. It's a thank you. That's what it is at its core. It's a thank you is at my core. My core value is really nothing more than thank you and grace toward others.
And I can't think of a better way to end this by you pointing out how important grace is. It's just so critical. I know Debbie and I feel the exact same way that you and Candace feel. We feel so fortunate and so lucky.
Oh.
And so I want to thank you for giving us your time in your home today. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.